Mr. Gaffney, a writer, dreamer, and thoughts in the air, hopes for a world where people aren't defined by the toil and grind, but the love they share. He sees a day where robots lend a hand. Artificial intelligence, a grand new plan, machines that free us from the shackles of strife. A future where humans truly come alive. Oh, Mr. Gaffney's vision so bright. A world where dreams take flight, where hearts are free to soar, and love's worth is worth much more.
Hey, Matt!
Hello, Brian. Who's this we got here with us?
Well, this looks like Sean Gaffney.
That's what it says under the name.
Yeah. So, Sean, who are you?
Well, with this show, you never know. I could be an AI creation just to see if we could fool your listeners.
Mm-hmm.
But as of now, I am the human, Sean Gaffney. I am a screenwriter, playwright, and television writer. I also am a professor at Asbury University in media department, teaching screenwriting classes for undergrad and grad. Yeah, anything that you would pay to write a script for, that's the kind of writing I do.
Really?
Well, welcome.
Yeah.
I gotta hop off screen for a second here. Gotta get a boiling pot of water. I'll be right back.
Oh, you better do that.
Yep.
Better do
Oh my
that.
goodness,
Yep.
I'm melting.
Yeah. So, I would like to know from you, Sean, how familiar you are with AI text to video.
Not hyper familiar at all.
Okay.
To be honest, I don't.
Okay.
I don't play with the AI a whole lot. So.
Okay. Well, I've got, and once Matt hops back on, I'm going to show some of that because the latest development with it has a lot to do with story and storytelling and stuff. So, how's the water?
It's fine. Come on in.
Okay, excellent. All right, so I do have some new AI stuff to show. I need to wait for Matt to ask his question, though.
Okay. How scary is it? Will I be crying at the end of this episode?
I think he's about to explain to me that my job is gone.
Jobs are a fleeting thing. So,
Oh man, this again?
just don't hold to them too tightly. So I'm going to show some of the latest text to video stuff, and to kind of give our viewers and Sean a sense of where it was and where it is. I'm going to show a text to video AI example from about 10 months ago, and then I'll show you some current ones. So text to AI is basically you type in what you want and then you get a video of it.
Oh, God.
So let's start with this.
This one is from my one and only true love. Peach is so cool. And with
So you get
Wow.
the idea. So
We
that
get the
was
idea.
Jack Black eating peaches.
So
Still
we
pretty
know-
impressive.
Did you put that in? Did you just put the song in? And then
No, this is just typing in Jack Black eating peaches.
Okay.
So we know that this is AI because of the way the fingers are rendered. That's how we knew on this one. Otherwise, it was perfect.
Well, perfect, maybe not, but quite impressive, actually.
Impressive. Absolutely impressive.
Impressive. So I'm going to show now a couple more recent examples, short ones. Matt has seen these already, but just to kind of get everybody up to speed, and then I'm going to show the super latest things going on. So let's do this. Here's some bunnies. Let's do this one quick too. Dog with a paintbrush. Yeah. So this is 10 months after the other one.
Wow.
Again, there's no photography going on here. There's no 3D CG going on here. This is just typing in dog artist
with paintbrush.
And no lighting person, no dog, no anything.
What was the prompt for this one?
I believe it was dog artist, or dog with a paintbrush, or dog artist with a paintbrush. So the latest thing is that, okay, so this is generated by Sora, which is part of OpenAI, who make ChatGPT. And so they are now courting the movie studios. So they are showing their stuff to the movie studios and showing what it's going at. And so they just released a few days ago some short films that were made entirely with Sora. So I thought I would show just a couple. I may not show the whole film, but I'll show you the gist of some of these. So there's that one. Let's see. Anyhow, there's that one, and let's see. This one is got more of a story to it.
Well, they say everyone has something unique about them, something that sets them apart. It's just in my case, it's quite obvious what that thing is. I am literally filled with hot air. Yeah, living like this has its challenges. Windy days, for one, are particularly troublesome. Or there was the one time my girlfriend insisted I go to the cactus store to get my Uncle Jerry a wedding present. Ugh. What do I love most about my predicament? The perspective it gives me. I get to see the world differently. I float above the mundane and the ordinary. I see things a different way from everyone else. Yeah, and I feel like it's because of that perspective I'm reminded every day that life is fragile. We're all just a pinprick away from deflation. So I try to live life with a lightness, a buoyancy, a joie de vivre. I got a lot of ideas keeping this thing full. With any luck, I'll find a way to share them with everyone else.
And the last one, which
Now, on that one, was the
Yeah.
script also written by
that's a good question.
Sora,
I don't
or
know.
or do they feed in the script and that's the images it came up with?
My guess is that they fed it in, but it could very well have been written as well. I'm going. One last one that I wanted to show, just because. And this one I have to share my screen, so hopefully it'll play okay.
Welcome to Beyond Our Reality, a journey through parallel worlds, where we delve into the extraordinary. Episode 1 unveils the giraffe flamingo, a stunning hybrid that roams the savannah with grace and vibrant hues. In Episode 2, we ascend the flying pigs, charming creatures that redefine the skies with their harmonious flight. Episode 3 plunges us into the depths to discover the whale puss, an elegant blend of whale and octopus ruling the ocean's abyss. Episode 4 introduces us to the eel cat, an aquatic enigma that combines the sleekness of an eel with the curiosity of a cat. Episode 5 presents the bunny armadillo, a delightful mix of bunny charm and armadillo protection, captivating our hearts. Episode 6 features the horsefly, a small yet noble creature that buzzes with a blend of horse-like dignity and fly-like agility. Episode 7 explores the reptilian aru, a creature that leaps across the desert with the vigor of a kangaroo and the resilience of a reptile. Our adventure culminates in Episode 8 with the fox crow, a fusion of fox cunning and crow freedom soaring through the forest's enigma. Join us on this mesmerizing journey through Beyond Our Reality, a journey through parallel worlds where the marvels of the unknown beckon.
So, anyway, you could do all that with CG, and a staff of CG artists, and it's months and months of work, and maybe some compositing and shooting some real footage and trying to mesh them together. Or you could type it in and there you go. So, anyhow, there you have it.
What more is there to say?
Yeah.
Well, a couple of things. One of them, is it better than the Jack Black eating peaches? Yes.
Yes.
But it's also photographic. It's a kind of interpretation of the content that filmmakers are gonna. I can see them getting geeked about it right now. Eventually, for the people who want to do more abstract things visually, that it can do that now as well. But I can just see how that this is being generated to go right to Hollywood and sidestep whole big parts of the union.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was I think it was Tyler Perry he was going to start an $800 million new film studio, and then he was shown this stuff and he canceled all his plans. So he's not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So there's a direct impact right there already.
Yeah, all those things they are saying, people stop being so afraid that this is not going to replace jobs. Yeah. I don't see how it's not going to. I think it was on another one of your episodes. Somebody was saying, it's not AI. AI is not replacing any jobs. It's the people who are using AI to replace jobs, and because people are people. I look at some of those and I think, oh yeah, some of the commercials that have been shot. We're not taking a camera out on the street anymore. We're not paying a bunch of extras anymore.
Right. So Sean, how do you feel about the whole storytelling part of all of this? In addition to the writing and the script writing,
Yeah.
because this level of AI creative generation with video, the whole writing and the tech side of it is also amazing and increasing crazy rate.
I mean, where to begin on it? It's kind of amazing. There's a part of me that watches like the balloon head thing. I thought that was pretty cool. I want to say that was written by a human and plugged in. I don't want to believe that an AI thought of the idea of my girlfriend convinced me to go to a cactus store. But now that this is out there, and one of the many things that can now be sampled by AI to come up with things, who knows? That may have been, yesterday. Yeah, of course it couldn't come up with that yesterday. But now that it's out there, yeah, tomorrow it could, absolutely. Just substitute out a porcupine store instead of a cactus store, right? But in watching it, my thing was, oh my goodness, I have scripts that I could just, short films that I could just plug in. And I don't have to wait. I have boxes and boxes of scripts that have never been made. That, maybe I can get them made because now I don't need to rely on other artists. I can just rely on AI, which fills me with guilt because when they say the same thing to me,
right?
When a director's like, I don't need a writer,
right? They're
just a pain in the butt. They keep wanting us to use their words the way that they wrote them. Cut out the middleman.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, it's a little bit scary. The temptation of it is scary. The trickle down is the scariest part about this. I think the quality question is a train that's leaving. My wife is a voiceover artist. She's an actress. Voiceover is one of the things she does. Already entry-level voiceover is going away because AI will voice it for you. Right now you can kind of tell. She'll actually come in and stare at me if I'm listening to a YouTube video that's clearly AI voiced. And she'll just kind of like, what are you doing, dude? And even for me, I get tired of that really fast. But it's getting better, and it'll get to a point where we're not going to know. We're not going to be able to tell. Already there are some AI-generated voice things that I can't tell. She can, because she's got an ear. Probably not too long before she can't tell. I mean, on the superficial level of the immediacy of jobs and the immediacy of being replaced and the immediacy of all of that, that's one level. And of course, as an artist, I'm not happy about the idea of becoming irrelevant, of becoming my job. I used to by hand. I was one of the hidden figures, and I would write out the figures, and I would do all the calculations. And now they've got this IBM thing that's doing all the calculations for me. That part of me is like a little uncomfortable. I think I'm more uncomfortable though with really the kind of the trickle down effect of this than I am even with the immediate replacement aspect. And by that I mean the ethical questions, the questions of why do we create? If this is the new way of creating. Does it fulfill the why we create, the kind of the questions of what are we valuing by running to AI? What are the human values that we're getting from it? Anyway.
Yeah, I
could talk about any one of those.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that. One of my biggest thoughts when all of this started to really accelerate was what effect is this going to have on us if we are offloading all this creativity and all this, the idea of making stuff? Will people start making less? Will people not bother? And what does that do to us as human beings, if that's the case? Or does it somehow something unexpected happens and I don't know, everybody gets sick of it and everybody wants to make art for themselves because of the experience of it? I don't know.
Or do we find creative ways within it to interact with it? I mean, I think because we can go in any of those directions. It'd be very easy. And again, I think it was another one of y'all's the parade episode where somebody's just kind of saying, hey, I'm not artistic. All of you artists who've kind of been lording it over me, I don't need you anymore, right? All I got to do is type in things, and I get exactly out of that. And the danger of that, of course, is that we're not being creative. We're replacing creativity with final product. And I think, right now our focus is mostly on final product, right? It's mostly on, can I get a voiceover that sounds just as good as Catherine Gaffney doing a voiceover, but I don't have to pay Catherine's rates, right? Can I get, so we're looking at final product as opposed to the process of being creative, the process of creating. And if we're giving that up, if we're saying, I don't need to go through the process anymore. I don't need to mix paint and see what does it look like anymore. Then I think that's a very real danger, because it changes how we think as a society, and we get to kind of a point where we're relying on something else to come up with creative solutions for us, right? Since I teach at a liberal arts institution, we're talking all the time about the value of the liberal arts isn't, well, how many jobs are you going to get in English, right? What has your pay rate been since you took, the history of Europe from 1500 to 1800, right? And of course that's nonsensical, because it's not about, because you have this particular knowledge, you get this particular money at the end. It's because learning this stuff is teaching you how to think and how to learn and how to wrap your thoughts around ideas, how to understand how the history of Europe in 1500 has relevance to the history of the United States in 2024, right? So it's a process of how we think about things, and creativity. The theater as an example. Students who study theater get along better with the rest of the world. They get along better in problems than the rest of the world. They do better under pressure than the rest of the world, because they're being trained of how to think in these situations, how to work with a group of people towards a common goal. It's that training there. Not, oh my goodness, that was a great play, right? It's not the end result that is the issue. It's the process. I think, with AI, which is the same is true, Bryan, you know this from computer animation. Well, computer animation, when we got to that 3D stuff, when Phil Vischer and Mike Nuraki were sitting in a bedroom creating bouncing vegetables on their computer, replacing hand-drawn art, it was the same kind of thing of, well, that's going to be replacing jobs, right? But people got into that and found a way to be creative with that, right? Artists were still being artists within that. So it's kind of like there's two ways we can go with this. The one way is, I don't need to be creative anymore. The computer's going to be creative for me. And the other is there a way that we can get inside of AI and be creative within it? I don't think anybody's really exploring that yet, as to how this is something that would deepen our creativity versus something that replaces our creativity.
Yeah, the part for me that it's a big part of that mix too is that the art is so commercialized now, and it's money is so involved in it, and when you plug money into the equation, faster, cheaper, easier wins out pretty much
every time,
all the time.
Right.
Right. So I don't know. What do you think?
Which
Matt?
goes to the question of what we value.
Yeah. What do you think of that, Matt?
I'm trying to write stuff down here.
Oh, good.
So when I heard, Sean, you say, it's changing our thinking, and really, okay, if we're presented with this, when I hear that, I don't feel like we're presented with it as much as what I'm hearing now is, hey, either sink or swim. You either play with this or you're cut loose. And we'll see how that works out. I, I mean, there is a difference to me, and we've talked about this many times about, well, when photography came in, what happened to the war correspondents who did drawings of the battlefield? They went goodbye. They went somewhere else and did something else. For me, though, this is not talking about learning a new tool. This is replacing those that use the tool.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I mean, they could figure out a way for us to play this new video game called AI. I'm just not interested. I'm not interested. And also as a person who's trying to be creative and help other people be creative, when I hear you say, that it's changing our thinking. We heard somebody come on who said, this is creating a democracy of creativity. To me, that sounds like the Borg saying, you will assimilate.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's a ridiculous notion. I'm sorry, but it's a ridiculous notion. And it's a dehumanizing notion. This idea, visual arts, is this idea that Sean Gaffney is now an equal visual artist to Brian Ballinger is, first off, should scare Brian, should scare anybody who's seen me trying to do a drawing past stick figure. But I could, with AI, I could. Does that make me an equal artist, or does that just mean that I can mimic what somebody else is doing? And the value that statement has on it of it's a democracy of creativity, the value is to say that everybody's creativity, everybody's point of view, everybody's artistic sensibility is equal of value, not in equal of I'm not saying this well. Not equal in standing, not equal in personhood, but the same, assimilated. Let's go Borg. It's assimilated,
right?
And we're not designed that way as human beings. We're not. We're kind of designed. We're designed to be forced to work together. If the society is going to be the best that society is going to be, it's not going to be because we take our best and eliminate everybody else, which is kind of like the general thinking, right? I was talking about that the other day with some students that we used to have this assignment. You guys might have, you're probably old enough maybe to remember this, but where they say, okay, there's 100 people on a boat and the boat is sinking and you have a lifeboat and it can take 10 people. Who are the 10? How do you choose who the 10 are?
Well, not the people
and
who take the test.
Yeah, exactly. It really is, because you start to say, oh, well, doctors are more valuable than artists. Wealthy people are more valuable than people who know how to steer the boat are better than. Like you're trying to say, oh, how are 10% of these people better or more valuable to society than the 90%? And really, creation has been designed to go against that. Creation has been designed to. We're always going to do that, right? I make more money than a plumber. Therefore, I am superior to a plumber and I'm more valuable to a plumber. That is until my crap gets so thick in my toilet that I need the plumber to come over and take care of my problem, right? And then suddenly my MFA has no value whatsoever compared to the plumber. By the way, plumbers probably make more than I do right now. But still, that value, the value system, we're constantly and have always had this value system of how do we make one person more valuable than another. And this democratization of creativity, as they're calling it, is substituting the idea that we need all of us together to come up with a full, rich human society. To really, we only need one of us and 1,000 copies of that one. So it really is Borg. It really is. We all need to be the same person for the value. And that's where I think any of this starts to become dehumanizing. When we do that, with the calculator, right? When the calculator, and these are all kind of small scale, any jump ahead. But with the calculator, if with the calculator I said, I no longer need people who think mathematically, because I can do the numbers. And as long as I can do the numbers, I don't need somebody who understands what those numbers are, right? That's a mistake. As opposed to, because I have the calculator, there are things I can do that I couldn't do before. Or the mathematician themselves, there are things that they can do. So, yeah, the democratization of creativity is a bogus argument, because we're all becoming the same exact type of creative, which means we're actually losing creativity by saying everybody can, and every single one of us can type in, French fries, Mona Lisa eating French fries. Oh, cool. Now we're all equally creative. Well, that's because we're all the same, not comparable.
So when you bring two up, I mean, just to extrapolate that on that was a big word, the word mimic. See, when if I want to learn how to draw, it's not a bad thing for me to try to mimic drawing of a Michelangelo,
Nope, not at all.
Leonardo, right? I mean, to even trace, as long as I acknowledge I traced this. But when we say I'm mimicking using AI, that whole using AI, what is the mechanism that's in there that's actually helping me mimic? I'm not learning or doing anything. I am using this tool. Now, who made this tool and why did they? Is again, I want to figure out who they are so we can figure out if they're going to go on the boat, the life raft.
Right.
That's how I feel about this right now, because I think that people are going to make a lot of money off of this without much care about what it's doing to anybody else.
No, and that's the thing is the mimicking that we do is so that we can grow as people. So ultimately, for an artist to find their own voice. Hopefully, that artist that's mimicking, copying the Mona Lisa, they're doing that so they can develop their skills, so that they can then be the creators of something that a whole nother generation is sitting in front of mimicking, so that they can learn. When we're asking AI to mimic for us.
Right.
I'm not doing any mimicking. I'm not learning anything. I'm not. My screenwriting students, one of the exercises that I say, if you want to learn good dialogue, is find a script that has good dialogue and type it. Type the exact script that Aaron Sorkin wrote. Get in your bones this feel. Not so that you can become Aaron Sorkin, but because you can learn that skill. We have some students now that are looking to do a class where they're going to a lighting class, where they're going to look at lighting from great movies, great moments of lighting, and see if they can recreate it. That's so they can learn how to do it, not so that we can remake Psycho or remake something. It's so that we can learn, so that we can get better, get advanced. I'm not seeing, when I type in something to AI, am I getting deeper in my art? Am I getting deeper? Am I finding my own voice by doing it? And voice is very important to me as a writer. At my school, when I have students coming into the screenwriting program here at Asbury, what I tell them is my job is to help them find their voice. It's not my job to give them Gaffney's voice. It's not my job to give them Asbury's voice. It's not my job to give them their church's voice. My job is to help them find their voice. And if we're using AI to help people find their voice, sure. That's not what I'm seeing so far, and it's certainly not what the studio is proposing when they're going to the motion picture folk and saying, here, use this. They're not saying, we're going to provide a unique voice. They're saying, we can get that baseline for a cheaper price. I started to rant a little bit there.
No, that was good. I just want to step in too and say, perhaps it's because I'm in grumpy mode today, but yes, I want everybody to get on the life raft. I do not want to exclude anyone. Just a little audience point there. At the same time, it's so good for us to have this conversation. So what I want to also address is what you're saying too about the issue of finding voice. So when I've talked about it before, it's about, okay, the mechanism for me, and what I try to share with students is, I have to go to that door inside where the muse sits on the other side. And that's hard work. Anybody who's ever tried to do it, and it's hard work every day. You know,
Yeah.
there's this thing of like, you've got to sit for a half an hour to an hour, and the other voices, the negative little jerk over here, and this one over here wants me to get on, TikTok. They all don't want me to do that work to get in touch with this. Where does AI sit in that regard to all of these voices now?
That's a good question.
I think too that
Go ahead, Brian.
yeah, that you're also part of what for me unlocks that door some is when I'm looking at other artists and getting inspired by them, and maybe I'll try and incorporate some of what they're doing, or mimic them. But the inspiration part of it, I I don't think you're getting that either when you're using AI to make stuff. Like, if I see kids, they're copy their favorite comics and everything, and they're getting inspired by it, and then they're growing through that, and that fuels the fire to just kind of keep making stuff and doing stuff. And I worry a little bit, kids start playing around with this stuff, if they're just gonna stop. Because I work with
Yeah.
kids at the Children's Museum, and there's ones in there that they'll show me their art, and they're so excited about what they're making, and they're like, and oh yeah, and I love this cartoon, and here's my version of this character, and then here's my own characters. Yeah, it makes me a little sad to think that could go away.
I think the speed plays into it too.
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
faster, when you're talking about creativity, faster is not better. Automatically. I think you talked about the time it takes to find, and I think wouldn't it be lovely if we could sit still for a half an hour to just be thinking, just to be hovering over an idea, just to be meshing a story around in our heads, versus instantly having something created for us. And I think about kids, kids especially, it's getting harder and harder. The faster our technology goes, the faster our society goes, the harder it is to convince a child of the value of, just sitting and dreaming, daydreaming. We've lost the value of daydreaming quite a bit. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say about that.
Yes.
I got a quickie on two things. One of them is, I heard Native American, I guess he's like a philosopher, died a little while ago, talking about the gratitude that he had for his partner for understanding that when he just sat and stared at the ripples in a lake, for an extended period of time, she not only accepted it, but celebrated it. It's my language of what he was saying, but I mean, and I
Yeah.
hope that he did the same for her, that he was,
Yeah.
so, and then the other thing is, that, it comes from another indigenous culture, is that I had a friend who, his whole culture was about every child that came. It was part of the culture, the village's process to help that child figure out what their voice is and why they were there. And it was assumed that each child brought a gift. And so I'm going back to what you said earlier, Sean, about I forget which show it was, but somebody said, finally, all you artists who've been lording it over me, now I'm just as creative as you are. Well, there's a person who is envious because, from my perspective, nobody ever helped them find out what their own gifts were and their own voice was, so they wouldn't care what anybody else was doing. And so how many people are like that in our culture, doing jobs that do not support sitting and looking at the concentric rings that, form in a pond.
Right. Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
is where I think AI could actually, we talked about this with other people, and I'll finish with this. It is a mirror. It could help us evolve faster into an understanding of what we've been doing with ourselves with, call it industrialization, and the insistence upon the marketing of creativity for, how many hundreds of years. It could accelerate that process where we have to sit back and go, wait a minute,
Right.
what the hell?
Right. Yeah. It could be. I mean, the scary part is, which has always been true, is that our advancements, our technological advancements, go faster than our ethical advancements. So we're way beyond, way beyond where we should be with AI. Just now people are going, wait a minute, maybe we should slow AI down. Too late.
Too late.
It's already
Missed it.
that train has left the station, and we don't have an ethic for it. But that might be the ultimate thing. Matt, that'd be very interesting, Matt, if the ultimate thing that AI does for us is forces us to stop and ask what is human. If what we thought was human was productivity, okay, how are we going to redefine it?
And then Bryan, like, I mean, that's good. At what cost? We've heard people talk about, well, there'll be like a gap year of where people don't have jobs. What?
Yeah.
What kind of cultural butt hitting the ground has to happen for us to come to that place where we go, wait a second, this is not working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the Star Trek model of, okay, if we don't have to do the work, the jobs that we thought were the things that gave us meaning, let's find other ways to give ourselves meaning. So we still have meaning. We still have lives of meaning. And I think we're racing to that, right? We're racing to that point of, what is my value? I thought my value was bringing home a paycheck and making sure my wife was taken care of and my kids were being raised right by providing for them. Well, is that still my value? I don't know. We had lots of new questions, right?
Yeah.
This is what I would ask you too, then, both of you as teachers. When I teach this thing about, like, okay, let's do a little practice about understanding this mechanism, this door, this, and actually let's do a little meditation where you sit at the door and who's on the other side and what do they look like? Is that radical as compared to let's figure out how to write a good prompt for AI? Like, how many people, if you ever do those kinds of esoteric practices, right? People definitely, they look back and they go, what the hell is this? When for me, that's how you get there.
That's how you get there. It is. There's a thing in academia, certain circles of academia, where how do you justify what you're doing in the classroom? And there's a certain kind of thing of, well, you need to be able to measure whether something works. So if you're going to do a lecture on story points, well, how do you know that lecture was valuable? Well, you give a test on story points, and because you have the results of the test, now you know that what you did was valuable. So it's a measurement system. And ever since I came out of the industry into education, so I'm very late to the game, and I've always resisted that. I thought, just because you can measure something doesn't make it valuable, and just because you can't measure something doesn't make it less valuable. And often, it's the things you can't measure that are the most valuable in a classroom. So that half hour of sitting there on the other side of the door, trying to open the door and look in, can't be measured whether that was successful or not until maybe 15 years later, 20 years later, when that student writes that epic that changes culture, right? Because they found what was on the other side of that door. Yes, I'm with you. I think it is radical because we've already given over to kind of a bean counter mentality for most of how society looks at how things are valued. And AI comes rushing right into the bean counter mentality of, I can replace what is valuable because I can give you measurable things.
Well, there's this I've found in teaching commercial art and creative art, the value is often measured by how marketable it is, or how much you can get for it, or that's the value of it. Which AI can come in and blow you away on that measurement stick. And I've fought against some of that too, because like when I'm teaching, I'm trying to help my students unlock who they are as a creative person and what's unique about them, and what, again, with the inspiration thing, who inspires them, what inspires them, where can they be successful, all of that kind of stuff. And if you're just measuring it by the economic impact, uh, it's not as that isn't valued as highly.
Interesting. Interesting if our economics are upended by this. Who then are we?
Well, like Matt and I have talked in the past about, you know, because the writing and the visual art side of AI had a jump start. It's like, oh, you put, people. We've seen this attitude of, oh, the artists are upset, but but it's coming for a lot of stuff, and the now the programmers are where the artists were last year, or
and
6
the
months ago.
surgeons.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the
all of that
lawyers
stuff.
and
Yeah,
everything.
They just, I don't know if you guys saw the latest programming AI advancements, but not only they don't have just AIs that can do, you can ask them to do the programming. They are programmers, so they're actually fully replacing the person. They'll go out and the AIs will go out and do their own research.
The AIs
they'll
are
learn.
coming up with the prompts on their own.
Right. They don't know how to
Yeah.
do something, they go and learn how to do it. And they're being, I don't know if the word creative is right, but they're coming up with solutions and things that aren't, that require a lot more than just being able to strictly program. Microsoft just announced their new programming system, which is, there's some irony there because they employ so many programmers who are now making stuff that replaces programmers. But yeah. If you get a chance, or maybe we'll show this in another episode, but Devin was the big new programming release, AI programming release, and it's worrying a ton of programmers.
So putting Sean on the spot here, Sean, if you could have access to all of AI and direct it in a certain way, I know we already heard, that the Star Trek model, right? What would you want to see transformed? Use your imagination. What changes? what works? What does
I really don't know. I don't even want to take a stab at that. Other than, the thing is there are things that can. I think it'd be interesting if we replaced how we see value of individuals to an extent that allowed individuals to become individuals, that allowed individuals to find who they really are, what really gives them satisfaction. Even within the Star Trek model, lower decks would probably point out, it's like there are still grunts. There are still people who have jobs they don't want to have.
The red shirts.
Yeah, it's like but what if people started to find fulfillment in what they could provide, what they could uniquely provide, or even what they could corporately provide. Finding fulfillment in. So not so much, oh, here's my paycheck, as much as here's how I've served. Here's how I contributed. Here's how I was able to take us in a new direction. Here's how I was able to take care of somebody. That's kind of a dreamer. Roddenberry was a dreamer. Roddenberry wasn't realistic. With this kind of creation of a society that wouldn't fight amongst each other, because we live on, I'm a storyteller, we live on conflict. But it would be interesting to explore who we are as humans, rather than the American thing. And I apologize to every potential student I come through, because I say, what is your major? And then I say, it doesn't matter what your major is. That's a dumb question to ask, because that's trying to define you, who you are, by finding this very thin box, and it really is an occupational box. That as Americans at a party, if you're trying to get to know somebody and you don't ask them what they do for a living, then you're failing, right, to get to know who they are. And I know that, I understand that, but that's not going to prevent me from asking those questions too. I wonder what it would be like to be in a society where that is a question that we're not even asking. That when we're trying to find out who somebody is, we're digging a lot deeper than what is their occupation, how do they make a living.
Where are
So
you
the-
with your awakening?
Yeah, there you go.
Where are you on your path? So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. Boy, I have a bunch of stuff coming up. We got a hard stop in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Will you come back?
Sure. Yeah.
Cool.
I owe Bryan. He's got a lot. We have a stack of favors, and he's got a stack yet left to play. No, happy to talk through things, always.
Cool. Because I don't.
Yeah, and I think what you guys are
realize-
the kind of conversation you guys are having is a very important conversation to have.
Well, I mean, and I guess we got a couple of minutes left. I mean, this aspect of, okay, then who are developing the parameters for this so that there is idealism in it? And are we just sort of taking a shot at it and letting AI run with it and hoping that AI is going to play nice?
No, Mary Shelley's already answered this for us. H.G. Wells has already answered this for us. I was told I did an adaptation of H.G. Wells's The Island of Dr. Moreau as a play. And at one of the performances, somebody explained to me that in medical school they were required to read Frankenstein and The Island of Dr. Moreau because they were acknowledging there were no ethics to go with what they were doing as scientists. So Victor von Frankenstein did not ask what would happen once I've succeeded, and that's the model for a lot of these technological jumps. Isn't what would happen once I succeed? It's let me get to this point where we can create these things. So there's no ethical parameters wrapped around most of advances anyway. But as Bryan was pointing out, this is going so fast that we're, even though we're asking the ethical questions now, we're not asking them fast enough to slow down the process. So we're going to have a big ball. We're going to have a big muddle of ugly. We're going to have the animals taking over the island before we catch up to, okay, now what do we do with all of this? Unfortunately,
I think that's
that's
also
the pessimist in me.
Yeah, it's also exacerbated by competition. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Who's first?
Who's first? And maybe I should hold this back because I don't know what the implications of it are. They're going to release that. I got it. And that's exactly what's happening with the AI.
Yeah.
They're like one-upping and one-upping and one-upping and one-upping and releasing and before they were really thinking they would. And
But look at the news world. Are we a better society because news is driven by who gets there first, as opposed to who gets the story right?
Right.
And who gets the titillating imagery and keeps people terrified and tuned in?
Yep.
Yeah, AI is the same.
Yeah, it's all about that.
Why would I wait releasing my next version if the next person's not going to wait?
Right.
Ethically, it's going to be out there anyway. I might as well be the one that makes the bucks.
Yeah.
What if we fixed the boat we were on rather than only choose 10 people to get on the raft? Use all the people who are on the boat already, and figure it out. Just saying.
I'm with you.
That
I'm
doesn't
with
make
you.
as interesting a TV show.
I know, it's not
I'm
as
with you.
exciting. Well,
I'm with you 100% though.
thank you, Sean.
Yeah,
You're welcome. Thank you
thanks
for
so
having me
much.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do it again.
Good talk, man.
Alrighty.
Yep.
Goodbye, everybody. Peace and love.
Bye.